savings as my bank, and I used to spend every single penny on going to clubs and partying like that I was a celebrity already. And now I think that that's probably not that was not the best thing that I could do. So one of the things that I've learned during my journey, and which I would always share with anyone who wants to speak to me about picking up a different career path, is financial prudence is something. If that's something that you have a handle on, I think you're pretty sorted. Uh, and the third part is, which is a continuously evolving part, is awareness and application, which I think it is pretty pervasive irrespective of what your career path is. Uh, it is something that a banker goes through. It is something that a writer like me goes through. It is something that you guys will go through during your career. I we taking an example of Badhai. Almost everyone knew somebody or the other in their extended circle who had a big, very late age, at a very late age. That's awareness. You were aware of that idea. You knew that concept. But it just took a couple of people to apply that awareness and turn it into some form of entertainment. This is what happens with all of us all the time. So for me, awareness is consumption. For my line of work, I watch like shitloads of TV shows, read a lot of books, uh, watch a lot of movies, and and then try to apply whatever I've learned. And application comes obviously through discipline, and thankfully. So one of the things that I later realized is, did I get an edge in my career as a writer because of the MBA that I did? Now I can say yes. Because for the first year in MBA, in our MBA, we were practically in our libraries, in our at our desk, just finishing assignments, which meant that we were hunched over our books for about 6 hours a day. So now I look back and I say the reason why I can spend that much time on a script is because I was trained like that when I was doing my MBA. So so discipline is something which I have to thank my MBA for, and practice is the other thing. So this is pretty much my learning from how my career has evolved over the last 10 years. I moved to Bombay in 2009. In the last 11 years, I have been a creative director with a really, really big production house. I've written two films which I've released, and I've written three more which will be shot by the end of this year. So yeah, it's been a magical, magical journey. Uh, and can I say with confidence that I've evolved as a professional? I think I'm a better liar than I was before, but yeah, I think I'm on my way to becoming a little better. So, is there anything else I've missed, or Shilpi or Aditi? I think that's pretty much my story and the things that I wanted to share.
Thank you, Shantanu. I'll now move it over to Aditi. She will be posing questions on behalf of the audience with you.
Okay, hi Aditi.
Uh, s- Hi. So the first question is: are there times when you regretted your decision, and how did you feel? How did you overcome those times?
Oh yeah, I regretted my decision maybe 100 times when I saw all my MBA batchmates buying cars and investing in property in first 5 years of their career. And I was still trying to figure out if I have enough money for dinner. For the first 2 3 years, it's really like a filmy tale of struggle where there were days when I had only 18 rupees to manage all my meals for the day, and so those were the nights when I thought, what I'm doing, is it right? Uh, and I mean, when you're younger, it slightly gives you, it motivates you to work a little harder, but it just becomes really lonely. And so, yes, there were some lonely, dark nights early on.
Right. And the next question is like, in our country, how usually people say, no, what log kya kahenge? So how did you overcome that aspect? Telling the people around you that after your MBA, you were not going through the normal path.
Log kya kahenge is something that I don't think we can escape that question for another 200 years. Uh, but what I did was I distanced myself for the first few years from my extended family. And it was a very juvenile thing to do, but I thought at least if there's some physical distance between me and the people who are about to ask that question, it's better that I just move away. But yeah, I come from a family which is a completely Sarkari Naukri kind of a family. And for them to see uh, their only son not do anything middle of the road and conventional, so to speak, was a little tough initially. Uh, but then I turned on my charm and I kind of told them it's okay, just hang in there. Yeah.
Aditi, sorry to interrupt, but before the next question, we are getting that many of the participants are getting stuck. So for them, there's a message that you can press Control F5. Try that, and you shall be able to log in. Over to you, Aditi.
Right. So the next one is, what would you say is your biggest achievement, like your work which you're most proud of when you know you had made it?
Oh, okay. So I recently, about 3 4 years ago, I created and wrote a show on Epic channel, which is, and the show is now on Netflix as well. That show is called Dharm Kshetra. Uh, it's about characters of Mahabharata. And I recently got to know that someone in Punjab University, Chandigarh, has done a has done his PhD in the subject called Breaking Stereotypes Shown in a TV show. Dharm Kshetra. So somebody has done a PhD on my work. I think that's been my personal achievement so far.
Right. Then the next one. What is the one thing that you think you did differently while struggling, which is why you feel you succeeded more than the people around you?
Ah, I would say I was a little ballsy. I was a little fearless, a little more fearless than others. I I was not really young when I started writing. I was like 27, and I didn't put any extra pressure on myself that by 35 I need to have achieved so much, written 5 films. I didn't do that, and I took every opportunity that came my way, and I said, okay, I'll do it. My initial days of writing, I actually wrote the script of a lady Sangeet for a family who wanted me to write what the Bade Chacha will say at the Sangeet ceremony. So I never said no to such stuff as well. I remember I was paid a black devil back then for that script.
Right. And the next one. When you connect with your old friends from either MBA or even your graduation, what differences do you find between all of y'all?
Uh, I think they are happier than me overall because they are pretty much doing what they wanted to do and why they did their MBA. I think I'm a little. I don't know. There's not much difference. I guess all of them are happy. Uh, so I really don't have an answer to that. I'm sorry.
Right. So that was the end of the questions.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you, Shantanu. I think, Shantanu, you beautifully exemplified for all of us that, we are an endless project, changing,
Yes.
evolving, surprising ourselves, surprising people around us constantly and continuously. So thank
Definitely.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
so much.
Shakti. Thanks. Okay.
All right. Well, on that note, we'd like to now move to our next guest speaker, and this speaker needs no introduction. Viral has a rich experience of working across the value chain of technologies used in Indian capital markets. Prior to his current role, he has held a number of techno managerial positions across multiple functions and technical domains at NSC and has also worked with some of India's tier 1 technology organizations like TCS and Wipro. Now, here's something that we did, fun that we did, which Viral does not know. We ran a small sting operation on Viral. Now, what was this sting operation? Here, we asked his colleagues, team members to share something about him. And just to summarize, this is what his friends, colleagues, and team members have to say about him. He is an inspiring guy who loves to interact with people and takes his team along in all his endeavors. Viral is a strategic thinker and he is willing to question status quo. He loves sports, especially cricket, and he's also fond of music, books, and to explore the world by traveling. Welcome, Viral, and over to you.
Hey, thanks a lot. Am I audible? Let me do some logistics check first. Okay, I'm assuming I'm audible. So, good evening, everyone. And it kind of feels quite different to get introduced to NSE because I always believe that NSE is my family. So anyway, thanks Shilpi for that introduction. And good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second session of the day. We had quite an interesting first session, and when I was listening to Shantanu, one of the things that I picked up from it is that academics will not decide where we land up in our career. Academics will get us a foot in the door. However, beyond it, there are many other facets which will finally determine where each one of us lands up. And now let me tell you, how did I land up here today? Okay, this is the interesting thing around it. So I think about 2 weeks ago or so, or maybe I think about 10 days ago or so, Kiran and Shilpi, out of nowhere, suddenly called me and talked to me about an event they were planning. One thing I've realized is that if they call, then there is surely some danger for me because they'll never call without a purpose. At least till now, they've never called without a purpose. So they were planning to have an event spread across 3 days with three different topics for the entire organization. And they wanted me to share my perspective on today's topic. As I told you, my instinct was right. Share my perspective on today's topic. While I like the event conceptualization, very frankly, which they had come up with, however, my only question to them was, why this topic for me? Evolving as a professional, why this topic for me? And the other question, of course, was, on which day of the event this is planned? Well, their answer was simple. We already have established speakers in place for other days. However, for this topic, we thought we should look for someone else. So you know where I stand, right? And as luck would have it, this is on day one. So personally, and this is my personal view, I felt that the other two topics could have been easier for me. Now, two choices were available. Difficult choice was to politely decline the offer to speak. Other was an easier one to accept the offer. And you already know which route I took. Two things I have learned in my evolution journey so far. First, declining HR request is a difficult route. And second, it is not necessary to go through the difficult route always. Okay, by the way, these things are off the record. Anyways, jokes apart, thanks Saurav sir, Shilpi and Kiran for providing me the opportunity to discuss my perspective with everyone. I'll try to keep it in time. However, in case I miss the deadline, request you to please intervene as appropriate. So when I started preparing for today's talk, quite a few things crossed my mind. I felt that maybe we can discuss on the career stages that I've personally experienced, or maybe we can discuss on opportunities that came along my way, or maybe we can discuss on the diversity of roles that I had an opportunity to play. However, I felt that all of us go through these things in our careers, and each one of us has a different journey depending on our personal situation and circumstances. So it may not be something that all of you may like to hear. And as I already mentioned to you, the topic was a difficult one. Nevertheless, having decided to go the easy route, I had to figure out. And as they say, a friend in a need is a friend indeed. So over the weekend, I was talking to one of my friends about how I am caught in a dilemma on which aspect of the evolution should I focus upon. One of the things that he mentioned was, why don't you reflect upon some of the traits that you feel have played a vital role in your own evolution? His idea appealed to me, and that's what I would like to talk about today. Given the paucity of the time and the limitations of the collaboration medium, there are three traits that I will focus upon. These traits have played a very critical role in my evolution as a professional thus far. However, let me be upfront on this. Everyone is entitled to an opinion, and there are different circumstances for everyone. So, what I will discuss with you today is my journey. You may want to pick up something of it or discard all of it, depends on your individual situation. Also, one more thing to note is that this is a journey which is ongoing, and each of the traits that I will describe is a work in progress for me. And according to me, I just started on it, and there is a long way to go. So, first trait, which should be on our radar, is being trustworthy. Being able to trust in our own abilities, being able to influence our peers to have trust in us, being able to inspire trust of our team into us, and being able to prove to our leaders to have trust in us. That's a lot of trust, by the way. It's a 360-degree approach for this trait, and let me describe each of the facets as I see it. Trust in one's own self will allow us to take on the challenges that come our way. It works wonders for our own self motivation and will allow us to step out of our comfort zone. This will happen only when we take charge of our own career and give a direction to it. Having a 3 to 5 year goal all along and working towards achieving the same has been my preferred route. Our leaders/mentors can guide us on what could be the goals, what could be the path. However, deciding and traveling on the same is going to be our choice and something that we have to do. If we don't do it, time automatically does it for us. It's never stagnant. However, only disadvantage in the second approach is that we may not be able to achieve the goals that we had in mind, and there could always be an element of regret that maybe I could have done this differently in my journey. In my journey thus far, I've had a fair share of ups and downs. Not all decisions have turned out the way I expected or anticipated them to be. However, it has always left behind a learning, which has allowed me to know what works and, more importantly, what does not work. Second dimension of being trustworthy is to build trust for ourselves in our peers. If they know that they can depend on us, then there will be reciprocation. This will allow us to create a bond which helps us through many difficult situations that we may face in future. This trust is not easy to come, by the way, and needs to be worked upon. In our careers, we routinely come across situations wherein we have to build upon work that has been initiated by others. One thing that I have learned is that being able to understand and acknowledge what our predecessors would have done, and that would have been done based on the situations and circumstances that they were at that point in time, always helps in building trust with them. It allows peers to settle down and they don't feel threatened in sharing and working along with us, because they understand that even if in future we may take up the project/activity that they are doing today, we are not out there to belittle anyone's contribution. Thirdly, it is imperative that we are able to inspire the trust of our team into our vision. If we have the team with us, then only we can rise, and there is no other mantra for success. A team will repose their trust in us only if they believe that we are honest to them and our vision has a purpose. Winning their trust is difficult because they all are at varied stages in personal and professional life. They all come from different backgrounds with different aspirations. In fact, it is one of the most difficult things to win them over. However, if we are able to succeed even to some degree in it, then we can take up any challenge. I've been lucky to work with some of the best team members who are driven by passion to excel. Their spirit and never say die attitude has allowed me to deliver on some very tough assignments. Lastly, once we have been able to evolve on these three dimensions, then comes the most difficult one, which is to make our leaders believe that they can trust upon us to do a task. The only way that can be done is by being accountable. If our leaders find us responsible and accountable, and they see that through our actions and commitments, then we can be rest assured that some of the finest opportunities that may be on offer will come to us. And evolution of one's career cannot happen without those opportunities. So, being trustworthy, according to me, is a very critical trait in this entire life cycle. Second trait I would consider quite important is being curious. As children, and especially as toddlers, we all would have been very curious about everything around us. There is a constant urge amongst us to learn and be able to do new and different things. Currently, with a toddler in the house, I know what curiosity they possess. If you are able to retain even a small percentage of that innate ability within us, it would do wonders to our evolution journey. We will always be ready to take up something different, discard the old, and adopt the new. A constant adaptation to change. It's an oxymoron, but that is what is required. I still remember the moment few years ago when in technology department, management wanted to set up a new function. There was nothing that I knew of this function at that point in time. However, it was intriguing for me. I was doing quite well in my current project at that point in time from a career perspective, but curiosity to try something new got better of me. And so I decided to give it a shot. Fortunately for me, management was ready to back me on it. The next 15 to 18 months were a roller coaster ride, as it involved first understanding what this function can do in NSE context, then convincing a few like minded people to join along with me in the team, leaving their current positions, overcome a whole host of skepticism around the function, both internally and externally, and make tangible deliveries. Journey was not easy at all. There were self doubts whether it was the right career move, whether the team will stick together or not, whether we will be able to come up with something tangible or not. Went through quite a bit of turmoil as we would experience in doing anything new that we haven't done before. However, at the end of the period, when we laid out our goals and the implementation plan for the same, we received a very strong backing from management and peers, and that restored our faith that we were on a right track. However, the journey did not end over here. We continued to have varied sets of experiences as we went around implementing the plan. Some people were ready to do what we suggested as long as we owned up the failure if there was any. Some wanted others to try first. Some felt that it was never going to work, and some were willing to give it a shot in a limited way. All in all, it was a unique experience. And at the end of it, while we were able to implement quite a bit of the plan, personally, I felt that it was an idea before time for us as an organization, and we were culturally not geared up for it at that point in time. Nevertheless, personally for me, it was quite satisfying as it gave me a behind the curtains glimpse of how the entire organization across various departments works together and allowed me to forge bonds with so many different people internally and externally in a very short span time. It also helped me establish one fact with my leadership team that I could take up something completely new, give somewhat meaningful direction to it, and deliver on a few tangible goals that were beneficial for the organization. Third and the last trait for today would be ability to communicate. I cannot emphasize enough, or should I say overemphasize, significance of this particular trait. None of the things would be possible if we are not able to communicate. A lot of people either take this for granted or do not spend sufficient amount of time in evolving the same. We can have the best of the ideas, but if we are not able to explain that to others, then it will go nowhere. Right choice of words, right tone, right mode, right method, and humility all go hand in hand to get us the desired results. People experience us as an individual only through our verbal and non-verbal communication. So we may be a very passionate person who strives for excellence, but if this does not come across properly, we could be misunderstood as a very tough taskmaster who is never satisfied and is very selfish. There's a very thin line, and hence it is very critical that we spend enough energies in evolving this particular trait. Let me talk about one last piece in my journey. This was in early stages of my career when I had just got elevated as a team lead, and we were working on a software product which was going to be rolled out to customers at pan India level. We were to have a briefing session for our support staff spread across the country and tutor them on some of the key aspects of the product and the kind of challenges/queries that they may face. Team consisting of pan India support staff meant that they all had their own region specific issues, different kinds of customers, different sets of queries. All in all, everyone had their own set of different challenges. Now, my manager at that point in time was looking out for someone who will be ready to do this particular activity. I volunteered for it. This was going to be my first shot at public speaking in a corporate environment. For me, there were two things. One, due to a previous project assignment, I was in a way aware of the limitations of the current product that was running in the market and kind of queries that the support teams were handling. Second, by being a team lead of a new product, I had a bird's eye view of the overall product. I spent quite some time in preparing for the meeting, in fact, burnt out quite a few nights just to get my slides right. On the designated day, for the first half an hour or so, I was sticking to the contents in my slide, but soon saw that people's interest was fading. And that's when I decided to junk my slides and went ahead with the language that they were familiar with. The questions that they used to listen every day in, day out from their customers, because the feeling was obvious. Their immediate question was, what's in it for me? Do you have anything in the product which will ensure that my customers' queries are answered, my life will become simple or not? And as a result of which the entire communication model had to be changed. Now, all through my duration, and believe me, on that particular day, the kind of deep connect that was made with those people on the ground was such that all through my duration in that project, which was almost 4 to 5 years, the equation that I shared with the support team on the ground was so good. And it helped us to avoid so many escalations and garner repeat business as well. In summary, I would just like to conclude by saying that luck does play an important role in evolution of our own career. However, relying only on it will not take us anywhere. It is our career and we need to be in charge of it. Same cannot be delegated to anyone else. As we go through our evolution journey, we generally focus on acquiring new skills and trying our hands at new roles. But please do remember that most important thing to do is to evolve as a person. Being trustworthy, being curious, and being able to communicate with honesty and humility are traits that will surely help us evolve not only as a professional, but also as a better person. Thank you for listening patiently and being part of this program. Once again, would like to thank Saurav sir, Shilpi, and Kiran for providing this opportunity. Thank you very much.
So I'll just ask a few of the questions which we've received. So, what would you say is the pivotal point in your career that you remember vividly, whether it was positive or negative?
Well, I think somehow our minds are always trained to remember things which are negative. But, I would like to tend to focus on one particular thing, which in my view, I thought was pivotal for me, and that was a positive event. And this was when I had moved out of NSC. I was working in other organizations, and one of the days I had come to NSC as part of the other organization in relation to some project over there. And that was the day when I met one of my old bosses, and then he said, you know what, we are fundamentally changing the core system at the exchange. Would you be interested in working on that? For me, that was a moment that I thought, that this is that same particular system with which I had started my career as. And here is an opportunity being given to me at this point of time when it is undergoing a transformation to lead that initiative. There was no second thought in my mind. It was a challenging assignment. It was a tough assignment. It had not been done. We were running on the old system for, I think, almost 15 years, and we were going to change that. But without blinking an eye, that was the thing which I took as a challenge at that point in time and immediately accepted that particular invitation. And I feel that particular movement was a change for me. That was the start for me for a second stint in NSE, and which fundamentally changed a lot of things for me.
Okay. The next one is, what would you say is the most important trait for young professionals? So out of the three which you talked about.
I would say that, out of the three, really picking up on any one of them is kind of difficult. But one of the key things that I would try to feel at this point of time is, especially when we are at an early stage of our career, being curious and being ready to take up any new challenge is something which is fundamental and essential. That is the way you will be able to fit into a team. That is the way the team will have a trust onto you. Your leadership will have trust into you. And in the process, you will evolve because some of the best opportunities will then land up at your desk. And that curiosity is something that is going to drive the set of new opportunities that can come across to you.
So coming on to the same thing, so how do you keep your team motivated with how things are constantly changing?
I think this question should be better answered by my team, because but one of the things that we've been trying in the team, and that has been is that as I mentioned to you, we've been always trying to look at a 3 to 5 year horizon and a 3 to 5 year window. And one trait I want to tell you, one of the very critical things which is there. So the team that is working with me today, and some of the people who are leading quite a lot of critical projects over there, they've been there with the exchange and with me for almost more than a decade. So, when I took over this particular team for a second time, one of the things that I had asked them was that, okay, is there a burnout for you? Are you tired of doing this particular same thing? Do you want rotation? Do you want to move around? My fingers were crossed. I was hoping that no one says no, because, if they decide to move around at that critical a juncture, it was going to be terrible for me. But to my pleasant surprise, they were so self-motivated. They were so passionate about the things that they were doing, and they felt a lot of attachment to the purpose that we were doing. Trying to run the platforms of the Indian capital market. That none of them asked me for a change. In fact, till today, none of them over there wants to undergo any kind of a change. So I think more than me motivating them, I think they are so self-motivated and driven by the purpose that has been laid out for them.
The next question, how do you manage to stay relevant? Like with the IT landscape, it changes constantly. So how do you keep yourself relevant with the constant updates?
As I mentioned to you, one of the questions that kind of, when I introduce myself, which kind of always gets asked, and especially with the technology context to it, is that, oh my God, you've been in the same organization for what, a decade or 2 decades? And people have kind of already judged you, and they've already said, either this guy does not want to step out of his comfort zone, so he's lying with the organization, or potentially, he's a bottom curve performer and hence he's lying over there. But one of the things that has happened, and at least in my career span, is that in the last 2 decades or so, the every 2 to 3 years, there has been an opportunity to do something new, and that kind of roles that I've played and the kind of things that have happened, it has been like almost walking into a new organization every 2 to 3 years, and the curiosity around it to see into it what is happening, because I think most of the times our entire problem comes from a fact is that we don't want to try something new. We feel we are okay where we are, and this is our stronghold and we should not let go of it. I think letting go of the things that are your stronghold at the peak of your career is a perfect recipe. That is the only way you can move to the next stage in your career. You should create that thing within your team that somebody else can take it up and you can move to something else. And being continuously curious and being not worried about the fear of failure.
So we have a few questions which I'll just talk about together. So a lot of them have commented on your communication skills. So they want to know which books have influenced you, or what are the key points which you can tell people about to improve their communication skills.
I don't know whether it has influenced them in a right way or a wrong way, but nevertheless, see, my limited point is, some of these particular things are not going to come out from books or neither from, doing a particular activity. I would strongly suggest two things for them is, at every point in time, whenever they are trying to present or whenever they're trying to communicate, try to keep yourselves in the person to whom you are communicating into their shoes and see what is the point that that particular person would want to understand. You have to look at that particular perspective. Second thing I would say is that, whenever you are doing written communication, whenever, and whatever that written communication is there, first is don't do it hastily, take some time over it. Don't write paragraphs. First think of it, who you are answering to, what you are answering to. Occasionally I have seen, and there are these so-called very cliche things which work out, which people can try. Is, if you are able to convey your point to a person opposite to you in 30 seconds, which is what famously is called as the elevator test. Trust me, it is very difficult to do that, but if you can do that, you have attained whatever was required out of you. Third and the fourth and the last thing that I would say for the time being is take every opportunity that is available to you to speak. You will fail, no problem. In the process, you will learn what not to do next time. But please grab it with both the hands. Go ahead, speak, take that fear out of your mind. There are many other people over there who can talk very well, who can articulate very well, who can write very well. But just that there is a fear of failure and they will not try. Today's topic, very frankly, for me, was a very difficult topic because, normally taking up an HR topic has a lot of challenges. And especially when you're coming from a tech background, where there is a more or less a black or white. And HR is always an area where you can be right or you can be wrong or you can be a little more right or a little more wrong. And in that kind of a context, and this is again, our great friends Shilpi and Kiran. So when I asked them, what do you want me to cover in the content? Oh, you can go extempo, you can cover whatever you like. So it was quite helpful actually. And I'm seriously telling you on a positive note that it was quite helpful because, they pretty much gave up the canvas and they trusted in a situation saying that, okay, we're going to hand over the canvas to him. Let him communicate. It is his journey. And we're not going to moderate the content. We're not going to go and see what he or she wants to communicate. And that allowed me to, share some of these particular things with all of you. I don't know how useful they have been for you or not. But anyway, opportunity was there. I've taken the opportunity. And these are the I believe are critical.
So that was the end of the questions. Shilpi, over to you.
Well, thank you, Viril. I think there's so many things that we've all picked up from the journey and the story that you've shared. And what I understand from what you share is that one is always presented with two choices in life, either to evolve or to repeat. And you, Viral, very clearly chose to evolve continuously. So thank you for being our eminent guest speaker today. And there's a saying, it says that books are the plane, the rail, the road. They are the destination, they are the journey, they are home. So I want to thank all the entries we've received for the book and movie review contest. And, just to share with you, the selection was based on a panel that was constituted. And we had 5 criteria for choosing the winning entry. These criteria were clarity of content, originality of thought, structure of presentation, adherence to format, and relevance to the theme. So we have with us the winner for day one, and that is Chetan Tapadia. Congratulations, Chetan. Chetan is currently Chief Manager of Business Excellence and comes with a diverse 12-year experience working with IT, robotics, entertainment, and now for the past 6 years with NSC. He enjoys learning and updating himself about technological advancements. He loves to read and he also loves to cook. So, over to you, Chetan, with the book review.
Thank you very much, Shilpi. And again, thank you, Viral and Shantanu. The the session had been really very insightful and definitely a good value add to our learning journey. So I will share my presentation. 1 minute. Yes. I will be making review of the Decision book. The authors of this book are Michael Krogaris and Roman Chapler. So the session or the topic which we have been discussing till now had been about evolution, and we spoke most about evolution. I feel evolution has a very strong correlation with the decision making process of an individual, and for every individual, his or her life evolves in line with the decision which every individual has taken in its or his or her personal or professional life. And as we take more responsibilities, the decision making process becomes very complex. So if we see decision, I mean, we take decisions every moment now and then, right from selection of pizza or burger, or film A versus film B. We are constantly making various decisions, and the decision making becomes more complex as we take the decision of selecting between two objects, to selection between right or wrong. And as we move ahead, the decision making becomes more complex when we have to choose between two right and two wrong things. Yes, sometimes we do have to choose between two wrong things as well. So one of the classic example, if you see, is choosing between wrong things is Kunti. We all know Kunti had a son, Karn, before her marriage, and the son, she had to decide whether to keep the son or to throw him in a river, to the same son whom she has carried for 9 months in her womb. Imagine the kind of decision which she had to take, and then she decided to throw the son in river, despite after evaluating might be a number of trade-offs, and finally she felt that it's better to throw him in river, and she had taken that call. So that's how, I mean, decision making becomes sometimes very very complex. And as we move to taking decisions in unknown zones, the decision making becomes even more complex. And with the way currently the speed of information has increased, it has furthermore added to the complexity. So for us, like, I mean, to give again, I mean, continue the analogy to Mahabharata, I would say that we all are like Arjuns who need Krishna to help at some point in time. And our Krishna can be any friend, a senior, a colleague, or sometimes even simply a book. And when I say a book, the first thing or the first top recall which I have about a book is the decision book. So I feel that this is not a book, I mean, which we can read from cover to cover or page to page. This is more of a workbook which has various situational decision making models. And if you see, I mean, I like this book because it has models, and models are great way of visualizing ideas, organizing, planning, on and communicating things or strategies. And the best part about this book is, don't think that this book is more like business models like Ansoff Matrix or Porter's Five Forces model, etc. It is very much a contextual book, a situational decision making models, which anyone can be in any situation. So if you see, this book is structured mainly into four categories. One is how to improve yourself. It has got 13 models on that. One of the model is Eisenhower matrix, which helps us prioritize our task on the basis of urgency and importance of a task. And then that's how it helps improve oneself. And there are similar 13 models. Similarly, there are 17 models to understand oneself better, uh, models to understand others better and improve others better. And if you see, overall around 60% of the models are towards personal development, and the remainder of 40% are on how we can work with others. So what I would say is, this is book about you, me, or everyone else who is just taking decisions, be it complex, be it under certainty, be it under uncertainty. So one of the drawback which when I worked with this book, which I really felt, is that this some of the models which are explained, mentioned in this book, were a few of the models were difficult to comprehend for me. Maybe this might be my limitation at the end of comprehension, but the similar case may be with other people also. So I think that the book can be enhanced with few more explanation or even examples. So that's what I would say about the book. And the entire takeaway of this conversation, what I would say is, yes, this book is, I would recommend or advocate this book. The prominent reason being that this really presents various good decision making models. And one of the beauties, it again suggests you that we can modify those models on the basis of our situation. So this is a very good learning experience. And second, again, as I said, the models, most of the models are very much pretty much straightforward and easy to comprehend. But yes, some of the models can be done with more comprehension, or can be explained or enhanced with more example and explanation. So that's all from my end. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And a big thank you to both Shantanu and Viral as our guest speakers as well. As we close today's session, we shall continue this exciting journey tomorrow at the same time with another set of eminent speakers. You shall be receiving the link for tomorrow's sessions again tomorrow morning and evening from us. Also, in addition to that, you shall be receiving a link for a quick poll at the end of today's session. Please do take out those 2 minutes and complete the poll. So, with that, thank you and good evening, and see you all and many more tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.